That's what I'm doing right now. I woke up probably 7 minutes ago and I'm ready to go. I've been doing that a lot, man. I wake up like at 8:50 every podcast morning and I'm in the chair right at 8:59 ready to go. That's how I do it.
like a like a true pro,
Oh yeah.
Gordon Mack, folks. Uh,
What a weekend though, right?
Subscribe. Yeah. I was gonna say subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. We had a lot of people tune in live over the weekend to see the reaction, and man, it's just you can't really catch your breath because you're going right into the trials. So ordinarily we do a huge, here's an NCAA recap. Who are the winners and the losers of the meet? But then you almost feel pressure to be like, wait, we need to get going on the preview for the trials. So we're going to lean, I think, more on the college side of things today. And then Wednesday, we'll do a comprehensive Olympic trials preview. That's the schedule as of now.
Yeah. Today we'll final recap of NCAA. Wednesday we'll do a major mega, I can call it, preview of the trials. We'll give our official picks individually that you and I have on every event. We'll do every event. We'll break it all down. It'll be a mega pod. And then Friday, we start doing live pods right after every day of competition, which will be a fun one. I'm really excited, man. We're going to have 8 days of trials starting on Friday. Can't get any better than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And the college kids set a high bar. So we are going to talk about the NCAA athletes, but we'll do it within the context of trials. So I'm looking at the NCAA stars who are going to have an impact at the Olympic trials. And we'll start with the people who won, but there's also a list here. We'll get to those later of the non-winners who I think could still make the Olympic team. That's right. People who I did not win over the weekend, but I think could make the Olympic team. But we'll start first with the folks who won, the people who grabbed the headlines. And no one did that better than Athing Mu of Texas A&M. Breaks her own collegiate record in the 400, 49.57, comes back with that 48-second 4x4 split. She's not entered in the 400, though, for the Olympic trials, as has been the plan for a couple weeks now. She's running the 800. And I think the interesting dynamic here, Gordon, is because she's run so many 400s this year and she's done relatively few 800s, she's going to go into the Olympic trials with the feeling that she hasn't run her best 800-meter race yet, which I think is going to be a nice little psychological boost for her. She's still got some room to grow in that event. When she ran the 157, seems like it was an entire season ago, pretty much, when she ran that nice negative split in Waco. And I think that's just going to add a level of freshness to how she approaches the 800, knowing that, hey, look at how much I've dropped my 400-meter time since I ran that collegiate record in the 800.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting thing with her because you look at her college season, she's only run back-to-back 800s once, and it was SEC indoors. And the trials, you got to run 3 800s, right? And the question is she prepared for that unique situation where back-to-back 800s, day off, then a third 800? We don't know because she's only been doing 400s primarily. It's going to be a big unknown. But the thing is, when you run 157 and a 158 and a 125, 600, and all these quick 400s, even with the lack of experience, you got to think there's a point where you're just too good to fail, right? I don't know. I just feel like it's not like she's out there running 159s. She's running 157s, 158s. And we saw her at the trials. USA's, you saw on the screen, 201, 202, and then 201 to get fifth. So you think she's better than she was then. So she should be able to do it.
Yes, she is.
But you never know. That is one good thing, is that she did do it in 2019. So she does have a little bit of muscle memory from what it's like to do 3 800s in 4 days.
And I think the way they position this is running the 800 is going to feel like a treat. It's going to feel like a novel concept because she hadn't done it for so long. She's just 400 after 400 after 400. And the stressful portion of the season, SECs and NCAA championships, she was grinding out quarters. So now to be able to switch, again, I think that adds a little bit of freshness to Mo's approach going into this race. You talked about 159, a 159 runner versus a 157 runner, and it's huge. Like if you look at the entry times for this meet, you got Wilson and Mo at 157. Then you have Rogers, Green, and Sutherland at 158. And then you got a whole bunch of 159s. So if she was still just a 159 runner, just in quotes, I'll put, it would be tough. It would be a slog, and anything is possible in the trials. You only need to go back to 2016 when they're in this event, in the women's 800, when there was a massive fall and everything got scrambled, to know that, yeah, she's not a lock necessarily to make the team. But I'll say what I've said since she's ran that 157. She's closer to Ajay Wilson at this point than she is to whoever we think would be forecast for third. That's my thinking going into this meet.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Those marks on your screen. Ajay Wilson, 157.72. Athing Mo, 157.73. Yeah. It's pretty close. It's only 0.01 away.
And she's and she's not your average NCAA freshman. You brought up 2019, went through the rounds, finished fifth, acquitted herself nicely there. She's run in big championship meets for a while now. And it's almost surprising to think, oh man, she's only a freshman, because we've seen her on this top level for years and years. You go back to 2019 indoors when she beat Raven Rogers in that 600. Yeah, it was a 600, and yeah, it was indoors, but it was reps at a high level, running against good competition, managing the nerves, managing the rounds. So I don't think she could have set herself up for success any better than she has in the 800 this year, than what she's done and the approach that she's taken. We also saw after the meet, she was lobbying to get in that 4x4, like a seasoned veteran here. She says, wink, wink, Team USA coaches, about her 48 split. And we talked about that in the live stream a bunch on Saturday, if people want to go back and listen to Gordon and my thoughts on Athing Mo in the 4x4. But I think if she makes the team in the 800, we will see her run a leg in the 4x4.
And it's against the rules. If she doesn't make the 800 meter team, they can't put her on the 4x4, right? It's against the rules.
It is not against the rules. There's no such rule. She can run. Anybody can run.
Really? I thought you had to make the Olympic team to be chosen.
Oh, no. Yes. You have to make the Olympic team. She has to make the 800 team. Yes.
Yeah.
I misheard what you said. I thought you said if she makes it in the 800, she can't do it. Yeah. Anybody on the team is in the pool.
But they can't take her over. Can they take her over the 8th place 400 meter runner?
If she gets 4th or lower in the 800, can they take her?
Yeah.
No, they're not. No, she wouldn't be on that. You have to be on the team. So you have to make the team in an individual event, any individual event, or you're qualifying in the open quarter. And since she's not running the open quarter, she's got to make it on the team in her individual event, just like Rai Benjamin did, right? Dalilah Muhammad, Sydney McLaughlin. We saw all those runners run on the 4x4 in Doha, and they did not make the 400 meter team. They did not run in the 400. But once you're in, you can have a situation where a whole bunch of people get hurt or some fluke thing happens, and you could have, like Centro running a 4x4 leg in theory. Because it's anybody who's on the team. You could have a discus thrower, right? Anybody who's on the team. You got a jersey and you're there.
Krauser hanging up. Put Ryan Krauser on the anchor for the 4x4.
Yeah, we should make our non-sprint 4x4 picks when we get closer to the Olympics. Who would we like to see on Team USA's 4x4? That would be a fun one. All right, let's keep it moving though. We got a lot of people to get to. Cambria Sturgis. What do you think about Sturgis's chances of making the team after her huge weekend in Eugene?
I mean, you got to think big. You got to think. I mean, you run 10.7. Like we said, there's a lot of vets out there, but the vets aren't not running 10.7. The vets are running 10.9 high, if not that, 11.0, 11.1. That's the world of difference from 10.7. And she just runs it so like nonchalant. Like she has zero like facial expression. She's like the exact opposite of Sha'Carri Richardson. Like if Sha'Carri Richardson did that, what Sturgis did, what she literally did do it a few years ago, you would see her like just like showing like, yeah, that's right, take that world. But she doesn't even. I felt like she didn't even recognize that she just did something incredible. She just kept running. Yep, I'm just gonna run 10.7 casually, a 22.1 casually, no big deal. I think you have to put her in a. You have to put her in the conversation. I mean, she's second
Mhm.
fastest when you include wind aided. I mean, it's all college kids, right? Sturgis, Terry, and Clark are second, third, and fourth when you include wind aided. But like, if you look at the vets are all in the 10.9s and 11
Mhm.
lows. So here's the thing: what do we do? Like, how do we remove the temptation of giving
Picking the college kids.
NCAA wins and college kids and the momentum they have too much credence?
Yes, that is a great question. I was wondering the same thing after this meet. But this year is just different because the meet is the next week. This is not 2019 where it was 6 weeks later, or other instances where there's a bit more time. It's so hard not to get carried away with these performances. And I think what you just have to remember is that each meet is its own animal. And she made that big jump from 10.9 to 10.7. So there's a possibility that she goes back to 10.9s this week, right? And there's a possibility that some of these pros that have been running 11.0 can make the jump up to 10.8 or 10.9. That's the only way she doesn't make the team. And I know I just said 2019 was a totally different animal than 2021, but like look at 2019 results. Tiana Daniels gets fourth at NCAA's and then makes the team, right? Sha'Carri Richardson runs a 10.75 and then doesn't make the team. This stuff changes quite a bit. I think we'll see less of that this year, of the positions shifting around, because I mean, people don't even need to leave Eugene. You can just stay in your hotel for an extra couple days and then run your 100, especially the 100, because the 100 is right on those first couple days. And I think that's going to help, obviously, someone like Sturgis. Do you see? I mean, the fact that she ran the 22.12 was really impressive. That was icing on the cake for me. She didn't need to do that, and yet she did. Do you see her having a better chance in the 100 or the 200?
100 for sure. I think, yeah, 100. I mean, you look at her 200 times there. She's slowly improved down to 22-1, 20. I just think that the 200 team is going to be a little bit harder to make than the 100 team, which is crazy. No, maybe I don't think that. I don't know. I just think she's better in the
Later
100.
in
I
the
think
meet.
her 10-7 is more impressive than her 22-1. I don't know why I
Mhm.
just think that, but that's what I just think. So I think she's a better shot in the one.
Yeah, and I think to your point before about how do you keep from getting carried away, I think you got to try to keep looking at that average performance and not just say, okay, wow, they're one big outlier that they did on this huge stage. Like we can expect that every single time because we know it just doesn't work that way. It's more fun to think that, but you compare a performance like this to a performance like runner like a thing Mo, right, where she's done it. She's given us so much evidence that this is who she is and this is who she's going to be. With some of these more recent phenomena, it's just like, yes, you did it at NCAA's, but that's just one performance. You got to do it. You got to do it multiple times here. I agree with you on the 100. Just 200 being later in the meet, it's going to be more difficult, right? More days away from her big NCAA performances. If Richardson comes back, you feel good about her taking one spot. Gabby Thomas has run well. I think the vets are better. I'll say it this way. I think the vets are better in the 2 than they are in the 1 right now going into this meet. And that's why I would say the 100 in addition to the 10.74. That's why I would give her a better chance in the 100 than the 200.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Randolph Ross staying with the North Carolina A&T theme?
Okay, so Randolph Ross, and I don't know if I'm ranking these in order in which they'll make. I don't think we are. We're not ranking them in order of which they'll make the team. But Randolph Ross, 43.85, bursts onto the scene with that run. I think he was helped by some news yesterday, which we'll get into more later, with Fred Curley deciding not to run the quarter. I think that opens up a spot in the quarter that was not there 24 hours ago. And you just look at the margin that he won by. You look at the fact that he closed as well as he did. I mean, do you have 3 guys in front of him right now? I mean, you have
I
Norman,
don't
but it's hard to find. It's hard to find two other guys for sure that are ahead of him.
think the let's bring up Ross's Tiefers to kind of see if this 43-8. I obviously it's much better than any of his previous runs, but just seeing how he kind of competes. I'm gonna bring up Randolph Ross's Twitter. Yeah, bring up his Tiefers. So you look at um, he's consistently been able to put together a 44-second uh, run when it mattered. I mean,
Mhm.
in the East prelims,
Yeah.
he ran back-to-back 44s. The MEAC final, he ran a 44. You know, NCAA indoors, he ran 45, then 44. So it doesn't seem like this is like he's a 45 low, 44-9 high guy, and then just
Right.
ripped
Right.
off a fast one. You see a bunch of 44 mids, a 44 low. You see a lot of 44s, and I think you need to run two 44s just to make the final. Maybe a 45 and then a 44, and then he's got to throw down the 43 once he's in the final. And I think he's developed enough 400s underneath his belt that I think that he should be able to do three more 400s at an elite level and make a team.
Mhm. I agree, and he does not need to run sub 44 to make the team. I don't
True.
think. I think a 44 low will make the team. He's 20 years old. It feels like every Olympic cycle you have at least one 19 or 20-year-old in the 400 who makes the team. Like there's always a role to be filled in the 400 by a collegian. Year in and year out, 400 is that type of event that it favors the youth. And Ross peaking at the right time. I do think there's some room for some other guys from the college season to squeak in there. We'll talk about that more later when I talk about the non-winners who I think could make the team. But Ross, great position right now going into the trials.
Yeah, you look at the top six, four of the top
Mhm.
six are college guys.
Yeah, and now with no Curly, it's not even like the seven, the guy hanging out at number seven there that you
Yeah.
could expect to be in there. But yeah, someone like Cherry, you can't discount. Norwood, the veterans will be ready to go. But yeah, if he runs 44 low, it's just the math is gonna put him on the team at that point.
Yeah.
The next person I had a similar type of weekend is Sean Burrell, another young guy, another one who has a huge breakout, breaks the U20 hurdle record, moved way up the all-time list, 47.85, number 4 in collegiate history. And he's going into an event, Gordon, where there's Rai Benjamin and about 30 yards. That's about it. I mean, there's just he's dominant against U.S. competition. Rai Benjamin is dominant against U.S. competition. Like these the entries that we have up right now, right? So you got Benjamin 46.98, Burrell 47.85, T.J. Holmes 48.20. So prior to Burrell, Benjamin was more than a second ahead of the next best person. Quincy Hall there, about a second and a half back of Rai Benjamin. So Burrell slots perfectly in to this field. By no means am I saying he's a lock. Is he a shoe-in? Is he a sure thing? But 47 is going to get you on the team.
Yeah, 100%. And we haven't really seen consistency out of the Holmes and Quincy Halls and Mir Latins of this world. Norman Grimes, who actually still had college eligibility, I think hurt this
Mhm.
year. He scratched trials. So there hasn't been a solid, consistent 48 low pro. I mean, a lot of these
Mhm.
pros were running 49 low, 49 mids. So for him to go out and run 47, you got to think he should make the team. I mean, Amir Latin and Norman Grimes and Quincy Hall. I mean, Quincy didn't make it because he scratched, but Norman Grimes and Amir Latin they went 3-4, I believe,
Yeah.
at the 2019 champs. And they both were coming out of college. So it makes sense that college kids should be able to be in that top three.
Mhm.
And it's crazy. This is his first year hurdling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. incredible adaptation to the event. I think hurdles, 400 hurdles, tricky, right? All it takes is one bad step, your rhythm gets thrown off, and a great performance can turn into a mediocre one. But with the amount that he's improved, and you can see there, we're putting him up on the screen, his 7 400-meter hurdle races, he went from 50.83 down to 47.85. It's been a remarkable rise for Sean Burrell. Now, globally, it's going to be tough because then you got guys like Warholm, Samba, Dos Santos, McMaster, and then Benjamin. But to make the team, again, it's Rai Benjamin and then a whole bunch and then a camera pan back to the next best person in this field. Gordon is yawning. That means we're going to have to take a distance detour to get Gordon back on track. We need to talk about the 5K. Otherwise, Gordon will lose focus here. Tier and Hawker. I guess we could do them together. What are their chances, Gordon?
So let's double check to see if Hawker is in the 5K. I think Tier is doing the 5K and Hawker is doing the 15 based off of what I saw in the trial entries. I'll double check that really quick before I don't want to do a whole segment on an event that they're not even running. So 5K, what do we got? Tier's running the 5K. So they're both declared in the 5K, and I think they might be both declared in the 15. So, yeah, they're both declared in the 5K, and they're both declared in the 15, but they're not going to do both, right? Because it's not a double that's possible. You would know this, right?
Well, at the trials, they could do both. It's the women's. That's
okay.
doable.
All right.
So let me just tell you.
What's first?
I'll go
what's
through
first? On the men's side.
Oh, wait, hold on. No. I think you're right.
Because they're both declared in the 15 and the 5.
I think you're right. Sorry. My apologies. Scratch this from the record. 15 and 5 are on the same day for qualifying on day 7. So they do the first round on the same day, semifinals the next day in the 1500, and the final day, the 5,000 and the 1,500 are 40 minutes apart. So my apologies, got the schedule mixed up. So the 15 and 5 double for the men, not possible. So it's one or the other. What do you think Tier chooses? What do you think Hawker chooses? And do they have a chance to make the Olympic team?
Well, if you're first them, do you choose based on what you think your best event is, or do you choose what you think the weaker event is? How do you approach it? Do you think about the competition, or you just think about yourself?
I think you choose it on what's my best chance to get on the Olympic team.
You're hedging. So is it? But what's more important, the competition or your ability?
It's the combination of those things. It's which gets me to Tokyo, right? So I think for Hawker, it's 1,500 for sure. I think that's an easy choice for Cole Hawker. We just saw how good he was in the 1,500, and I think the 1,500 team for him is going to be an easier squad to make. Neither of them are easy, but it's the best one, the best option for him. Now, Tier, I think it's a little more complicated. But for Hawker, I think it's straightforward.
Look at Nick Willis putting up his USATF trials picks. We're going to save our trials picks for Wednesday. So we won't tell you who we think is going to make the team. But apparently
he's got Hobbs Kessler on the team.
He's got Kessler. I mean, he's a little biased. I think Nick Willis needs to stop tweeting about Hobbs Kessler. I think he has a little bit of a problem. He finds a way to turn everything like, oh, did I mention Hobbs Kessler? Like the NCAA final happens, he's like, I just want to let you know, Hobbs Kessler has a faster PB. I'm like, all right, great.
He does.
He's a little Hobbs Kessler obsessed. It's like it's his dad or something. It's kind of crazy.
It's his fact.
I bet you 5 out of every 6 tweets are about Hobbs Kessler or associated about Hobbs Kessler. If you look at his Twitter timeline, it's incredible. Anyway, I think Hawkins should do the 15. I agree with you. I think Tier has more of like a legitimate question because we kind of forget Tier can run a quick 15, a quick mile. Tier almost beat Nagoose. And if Nagoose is someone that we can think can make an Olympic team, you got to think that Tier is in that conversation. And the question is, are the Lamongs and Grant Fishers and Paul Chalimos too established in the 5K that Tier won't really be able to? I mean, what do you think Tier has a better chance of cracking the top three? A 5K with those Bowerman guys, or the 1500 with the college guys, a high school kid, and then Engels and Centro?
I think 15, just because the 15 could get wild and unpredictable, and that would be his best chance. It's just the five is going to be tough to navigate with the Bowerman guys plus Chalimo and Bohr, Klecker, True, Jenkins. There's just a lot of different people in there who you could see putting together the right race to win with the right combo of experience.
Now, would you think that? Look at the times.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Is Fisher in? Oh, okay. He's at the bottom. I had a momentary freak out there. Fisher's at the bottom. It says qualified, but he hasn't declared yet.
Yeah, he hasn't declared. But if you look at the times, I mean, a lot of the top times that were run in the 5K were run in 2019 or in 2020, because in 2021, Tier's the fourth fastest. And he did his time in a championship style race, not in a time trial. And McGordy's probably not going to run. So if you go just off of 2021 times, he's the third fastest man.
Yeah, but you really going to count out Chalimo?
No.
You going to count out Bohr? I mean, those were indoor marks that they ran, so they're not part of this list. And I think you got to put Kincaid in there based on what he's done in 2019. You get a more randomized result when you go to the 15. And as you said, Tier can kick, Tier can close. We saw it in the 5K. So that's probably the better shot. I think he has a chance in the 5K though too, but just the sheer randomness of the 1500 lends itself to some unpredictable outcomes.
Here's a factor we should think about. What about the friendship factor? I'm assuming that Cooper Tier and Cole Hocker are friends, they're teammates. Wouldn't they both would they want to work together and be like, hey, the odds of both of us being top three in the same race are a lot harder than the odds of individually us being top one in two separate races, top three in two separate races. So do you think there's a little bit of like, hey, I want both of us to make it, so it might be better for us to make sure we split events and Cooper Tier does the 5K, because the last thing he wants to do is make an Olympic team knocking Hawker out in fourth, as opposed to making an Olympic team and also seeing Hawker make one in the other event.
There's a lot of people there, though. This isn't like winning, let's divide up our NCAA championships. There's just like a lot of other factors and people in the way, too. The odds that they go 3-4 in something and knock the other one out, I think is pretty low. So I think they both do what's in their own best interests, and they shake hands and are friends after the race. That's what I would think. And I think for Hawker, it's going to be the 15. That would be my guess. Then again, I didn't think he'd double at NCAAs. So we could be wrong. We could both be wrong. So let's go to the next person. Isaiah Jewett in the 800. Isaiah Jewett, 144.68. Now, I'd say it's going to be tougher to make the team just because the U.S. is loaded right now in the men's 800. And as we talked about in the live stream, you think two spots are already pretty much secured between Brazier and Hoppel, which leaves only one spot for somebody else. But in that next group, you have people like Clayton Murphy, who's medaled, Isaiah Harris, who's been around for a while. Jewett, though, that front-running 144 gets you intrigued. He's an intriguing pick here going into the trials.
I think he can look back on this weekend and see the difference between his prelim race and his final race, and truly cemented that I am not good when it's a slow 52 opening 400. I am great when it goes out fast. And I think he now has that cemented in his mind, and I think that will ensure that when he's in every one of his heats and in the final, he's going to make sure that the field goes out in 49 seconds, 50 seconds. And I think with that, you have to think, all right, Donovan and Hoppel are the class of the world right now, so they're making the team. The question is
Yeah.
Murphy, and Murphy he ran 147 and got eighth in his most recent 800 in New York. He did come back and win a 1500 and 338, but Murphy is the biggest wild card. He's also like Murphy could show up and not make the final because he's just not the same guy. But he also could show up and get win, right? Because he's like, oh, we forgot Murphy's legitimate. He's an Olympic medalist for a reason. So I think
Yeah.
that it's just gonna be a question of Jewett versus Murphy because I don't think Isaiah Harris or Sawinski or Brandon Miller or Brandon Kidder are are that big of a challenge to Isaiah Jewett. Like I think they're all kind of in the same category. The question is, can he beat Clayton Murphy for that third spot?
Mhm.
And is Clay Murphy going to be the 2019 version of Clayton, or is he going to be the kind of weird 2021 version of Clayton, where we see him run well, then not run well, and just like an unknown, right? So
Well, well, he's been good in the 15 too, which is an interesting
yeah,
idea too. And the eight comes first, and I saw Brazier's entered in both in the 8 and the 15, and Murphy's entered both in the 8 and the 15. You'd think if they make the 800 team, they'll scratch out of the 15, but
yeah.
Murphy has a. You can make an argument Murphy has a good chance in the 15, maybe even a better chance of the 15 than the 800, just because 15 looks a little bit more wide open. I like I like Jewett. I think the race is going to go out quick, so he could run 50 point and have someone on his right on his shoulder. It's not like Brazier and Hopple are incapable of going out fast, which would give him a little bit of a boost going around. But I think it's going to be tough. This one is going to be definitely tough. We got another Trojan to talk about though. Anna Cockrell wins both hurdle races, does the sweep 54.66 in the 4 meter hurdles, which set a PB for her. She's going into the teeth of Team USA here, though, when you're going in the 4 meter hurdles with McLaughlin, Muhammad, and Shamir Little. So she'll have to drop some serious time off her personal best to make it in the low hurdles. And I'm guessing she's entered in the high hurdles as well, too.
Yeah, she's declared
But
in
she's always
both.
been, yeah, and I mean, she's always been stronger in the 400 hurdles, but she'll get two shots there.
I mean, I think she has a legitimate shot of making the 100 hurdles. The 100 hurdles this year, there's no one really. It's not. We always talk about the women's 100-meter hurdles as like the hardest team to make. I think that's kind of not true right now. I think that was true a few
Mhm.
years ago, but I think the 100-meter hurdles has kind of not been. I mean, Nia Ali's not there. Sharika Nelvis isn't running the way she runs. So like, there's just a lot of the women who are dominating that event are older now. I think Anna Cockrell will make probably the 100-meter hurdle Olympic team if I had to have my say of anything. 400 hurdles
Which would
just
be,
they're too good up front.
yeah,
The 100 hurdles will
it's
just an
just
opportunity.
it's just an interesting quirk of track and field that she has a better chance in the high hurdles than she is in the low hurdles. I mean, she's been good in the 400 hurdles for years. I mean, going back to was that the 2017 USA's in that insane race in Sacramento where everybody PR'd. Like she was in that race too. But just the way things have broken down with McLaughlin, Muhammad, and Little, it's going to be tough. Although I will say, Cockrell's sitting there in solid fourth right now on the U.S. list. So if something did happen in the low hurdle, so if something did happen to the top three, she'd be right there to take advantage. But I think at minimum you're going to have to go sub 54 because I think Muhammad's going to come to play. So she's going to have to
Yeah.
knock off some time. But having two chances takes the pressure off a bit, and especially in an event maybe she didn't even think would be on her radar this year, or an event where she didn't think she'd have the best chance to qualify. It is so crazy. Like they talked about Queen Harrison being the only person ever to double in the both hurdle events. It's insanely impressive to be good at both those events at the same time. Like, yeah, they have hurdles in common, but one is 100 and one is a 400. And to be able to do both of them at that high level just shows incredible range. I think it's a
Yeah.
very underrated double in terms of degree of difficulty because people see hurdles next to it, and maybe because of in high school, they won the 100 and the 300 hurdles, so it's like you get used to that double being commonplace. But I mean, it's so rare. I mean, like it had only been done once before, and you're talking about just two completely different approaches to a race.
Yeah, she's ranked third in the 100 hurdles in the U.S. and fourth in the 400 hurdles. I mean, Sydney's ranked fifth and first or second, so Sydney's kind of starting to
Yeah,
do it too. But like, yeah, 12:54. I think that's a better mark than her 55. So, and Tania Marshall, she scratched the NCAA final, right? So there's like a little bit of a question mark with her health right now. I mean, and then Sydney's not in the event, so it's like it's kind of Harrison, Cockrell, Christina Clemens, 12:59, and then you got to go all the way down to like a Talia Brooks who's won 12:7, which is so far away
yeah.
from 12:5. So there's just not that depth. I think she's 100. I mean, that's my lock of the pod. Anna Cockrell, 100-meter hurdle Olympic team member. There's the lock.
Yeah,
We hit it.
yeah. All right, we got four more people I want to talk about for the winners, and then there's some people who didn't win who I think could make the team. Javon Harrison, 233 in the high jump, and then 827 in the long jump. What are his chances of making at least one team?
I mean, great. He's been in the championship mode of like going up against legitimate guys, especially in the SEC with Daryl Sullivan, and he's consistently never had a bad day. Which
Yeah,
sometimes in the
yeah.
high jump you can have a couple of people like, this is not my day, and some of the best high jumpers really just popped off one like at one point in their career, and that's what they're kind of living off of. But Harrison has been super consistent, and he's 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 shown he's able to do the double. He's shown he's able to do it multiple times, whether it's at SEC indoor outdoor, NCAA indoor outdoor, and I just think that he has shown that he can handle it. And the double is going to be hard at the trials. I know it's kind of. I think they're both on the same day, aren't they? I think the long
Let me.
jump and the high jump are the same day. Mister Schedule Man.
I'm pulling it up right now. I'm pulling up the schedule. Long jump is on day 8 for the men. Yes, they qualify at the same time. Hey, he's used to that, right? He's used to going back and
Yeah.
forth.
So I think that though could be a little wrench, but he's good enough to make at least one.
Okay. Next person, another LSU Tiger, Terrence Laird. 10:05 wins the 100, then 19:94 gets second in the 200.
It's kind of weird because of his loss in the 200. You kind of have just a different vibe on him going into the trials than you would have had if he just easily won that 200.
Mm-hmm.
Because his 100 win was not like a 9.8, 9.9. It was a 10.05. I just have for some weird reason, I have a different perspective of him than I did 48 hours prior to the meet. I don't think he's going to make the 100-meter team. I think that 100-meter team is too deep now, especially with the addition of Fred Curley and all these other guys. I think his best shot is the 200.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
should, like, the same way I shouldn't let NCAAs make me overconfident someone, I shouldn't let NCAAs take away the confidence of someone. And so I should say that I still think Terrence Laird is a top 3 guy when it comes to it in the U.S. in the 200.
yeah, and I agree. And we're going to talk about the non-winners who could make it. And he would be, it's weird to call him a non-winner because he won the 100. So I put him in this
Yeah.
in-between category here. But yeah, you look at best 200-meter marks of the year in the United States, he's still at the top of the list, right? His 1981
Yeah.
has not been matched. So Fanboulet ran an amazing race in Eugene, put it together at the right time, but it's not like Laird's 100-meter win doesn't translate at all to the 200, right? That's a good sign still. So the fact that he
Yeah.
got second in the 200, but he could have gotten fourth in the 100 and second in the 200, and then you'd probably feel even worse about his chances. But the fact that he won the 100 shows you he's still sharp. I mean, that was a really good field filled with guys who have run sub 10. So yeah, I'm with you. I think he still makes the he's one of my 200-meter picks on a team that's really getting difficult to pick. The men's 200 now because of Curley. Two field event people to end this list with: Tara Davis of Texas and Turner Washington of Arizona State. Turner Washington looks pretty good to qualify in the discus.
Yeah, Washington scratching the shot put. He's going all in on the discus. Um, should I think? I mean, discus. I'll be honest. I'm not that much of a connoisseur of the discus and knowing who is who and who's the best in that event. But I mean, his mark definitely holds up against the rest of the top U.S. guys in that event, and he's been on a roll. He's been kind of consistent with his mark, so I gotta give him a good shot to make the team. But also, you could like just have a bad day, a couple bad throws, and finish sixth. So,
all right, now I want to get to Davis. Let's talk about Davis real quick too. I mean, I think she's solid in the long jump.
I think the first,
something crazy would have to happen for her not to make the long jump.
But I think more importantly, we need to go to Tara Davis's Instagram. Travis, bring it up. No, not that one. The other one. You know what I'm talking about?
What are we? Oh,
this is this. Look at this. She's already the athlete influencer. She's already doing a ad for Stars Blind Spotting, a TV show, I guess.
What is that?
I don't know. But she's already getting paid to do an ad, and this is literally as soon as the NCAAs were over. This is 20. She's like, boom, I am doing my paid sponsorships, and she's gonna be the influencer. I mean, look, you look at her after winning. She clearly was thinking, all right, I'm an influencer. I got to make sure I bring my cowboy boots, my cowboy hat. I'm ready to go. She's going to make a lot of money with her online presence, combined with the ability to now make her first Olympic team. So she's going to be an Olympian with an online presence. It's all just going to come together, and she's going to be very popular in not just the track world, but I think in the non-track world too, because she has that reach. I mean, how many Instagram followers does she have, Travis? Scroll down, see how many? 167,000 followers. Yeah, it's going to be a wild 10 or so years for Tara Davis being a Olympic influencer, likely. So
I'm looking at the plot.
I think it's funny
that
she had an ad. Were you watching it?
6 months. No, I'm looking at the Wikipedia explanation. 6 months after the events in the film of the same name, Ashley's partner of 12 years and father of their son Miles is suddenly incarcerated, and the situation leaves her to navigate a chaotic and humorous existential crisis when she and her son Sean are forced to move in with Miles's mother and half sister. I mean, there you go. There you go.
She probably got paid like $100 for that. And she's like, all right, sweet. There's
I had never heard of it. I mean, it worked. It had worked. I had never heard of blind spotting. Let's be honest. Okay, people who didn't win at NCAA's who could make the Olympic team. Let me try that again. People who did not win at NCAA's but could make an Olympic team. I'm gonna start first with a trivia question for you, Gordon.
Is it about Tara Davis? Because I do think that
no, it's not.
What would be the first ad that Tara Davis does at the Olympic trials? What do you think the first ad would be?
What's everybody advertising for? The massage thing.
Oh, Hyperice?
Yeah, everybody's on those. Yeah, you're just giving out free advertising here, and I did it with blind spotting, so we got to move on. Okay, trivia question for you, Gordon. Twanisha Terry, she competed for 3 seasons where she actually was able to run in championships. Her best events were the 60 indoors and the 100-meter outdoors. 3 years, 2 events. So she had 6 opportunities. How many times in those 6 opportunities did she finish in the top 3?
How many? I don't know.
5. She got one
Okay.
win, 2 seconds, and 2/3. Only one time in her career did she miss out on the top three in either the 60 final or the 100 final. She comes to play when championships are on the line. She ran a great race back in Des Moines at the 2019 U.S. Championships. The only real time she got a shot at a U.S. team in the prime part of her career. I think she can make this team. We talked about Sturgis, but Terry ran really well as well too, 10.79 with that plus 2.2 wind. I think Terry's going to make this team.
I like your little deep dive. I'm like, you kind of, it's like, it's not about the wins, it's about being top three, and she's really good at being top three.
Consistent.
It's nice.
She's consistent,
Yeah.
right? She's just solid. She's always there. And I thought, man, this is because she lost out to Sturgis. Indoors, she lost out to Nelson. She always loses out to people who have these otherworldly races. Going back to 2019, she finishes behind Sha'Carri Richardson when she got third. Sha'Carri Richardson has a huge race. Like Terry could have won any one of these races, but she's always there. She never falls apart. I think she's going to get top three in the 100. I know we're not doing picks yet, but that's my pick. Other person, Brandon Miller. You talked about him. Finished just behind Jewett. So if you're going to talk about Jewett, I think you got to talk about Miller. 144.97. Anybody who's sub 145, I think has a chance.
Yeah, Miller's kind of interchangeable with Jewett, and I think the combination. I think Isaiah Harris, Jewett, Miller, Sawinski, Brandon Kidder. They're all just like a conglomerate going up against Clayton Murphy. It's that group of five guys trying to take down Murphy for one of those two spots for that final spot in the top three. So, and Miller's one of those guys. I mean, he's young. I think it's cool seeing Miller do well though, because he was so good and like at the he was like the age group guy, right? In AAU and doing all these things, and everyone's like, is he going to get burnt out? And he kind of had a subpar senior year, and you're like, ooh, did he use up all of his talent too early in his career? But now you couldn't ask for a better freshman season from him. I mean, it's one of an all-time great freshman seasons. Like, it would have been impressive if he just ended his freshman year with like a 147 and then like continue to progress. But to end your freshman year with a 144, that's just wild. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, Yared Nuguse. Yared Nuguse. Again, if we're talking about Hawker, Nuguse was not far behind. I think he's got the standard, so you don't need to worry about that. He can just worry about racing. The attention, I think, will be off of him more, because if you're looking for a collegian, you're going to be talking more about Hawker because he got the win. If you're looking at just the event as a whole, well, you have Matt Centrowitz there, who obviously gets a lot of the headlines, which allows Nuguse Gordon to fly a bit under the radar, which is weird because he's the collegiate record holder. But I think he's going to go into this race with absolutely nothing to lose. And I know you've been big on Nuguse all year. What do you think his shot is?
I think his shot is equal to the shot that Hawker has, like exactly equal. I think they're both interchangeable. I don't think one is favored over the other. Yeah, that's so. I think we should just talk about Nuguse and Hawker in the exact same conversation as like the elite college guy, and I think they equally have a legitimate chance, not just a beyond legitimate. Like, I'd say they are. I think Centro is the only one that's like favorite / lock, but I would put Hawker, Nuguse, and Craig Engels all at an equal, betting odds. To be honest,
the way to think about it is, hey, if everybody in this race had their best race, would they qualify? And with Hawker and Nuguse, you can make a strong argument. You don't need to do too many what ifs. Oh, they can make it if this person underperforms or the race goes a certain way. No, if everybody's at their best, Hawker and Nuguse are going to be right there with those guys. So, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think you can count out Nuguse. It would not surprise me at all if he finishes ahead of Hawker, he finishes ahead of Coupertier, if he gets top three. That would not surprise me in the least. All right, two more I want to get to real quick. Tania Marshall, who scratched the high hurdles. I don't know if we saw why, but you talked about the high hurdle list before, and it's worth repeating that she is at the top of it. So if she's able to come back, I think she could make the team. And then the 400, the men's 400, beyond Randolph Ross. I'm not going to count out Noah Williams or Bryce Deadman.
Yeah. I mean, I think the 400, I think Williams was my like guy for that top three all the way up
Yeah.
until he got beat by Randolph Ross. So Dedham's legit. I think we could see now we'll talk about it with Freddie Curley not there. I could think of see it be Norman and two college kids making that 400-meter team.
Mm-hmm. Justin Robinson as well in there too. Because the 400 team now is a little bit open. A little bit open because Fred Curley is not going to run the 400. Gordon, you brought this to my attention yesterday, and I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked that he is opting for the 100 and 200, not the 400. I could see him doing a double, like adding something to his plate, but I thought it was going to be in addition to the 400. I didn't think he would remove the 400 entirely. And you look at it from both sides. So 400, obviously, bronze medalist, top 5 in the world at worst right now. You could make an argument for sure that he's still top 3. And he's really, up until this year, only run the 400. That's been the main focus of his career, run sub 44. So it's a very big surprise that he's leaving that event. And then you look at the other side, what is he jumping into? Well, that 100 is so deep. That 100 is ridiculously deep now. He has the 991, but there's 5 guys who run faster. He has the win over Gatlin that he got overseas, but that may not be enough because you look at Bromell, you look at Bracey, you look at Lyles, you look at Young, you look at Baker, you look at the college kids that are sharp right now as well too. That's going to be tough. And then you go to the 200, which you think, okay, 991, sub 44, the 200 is where it's at for him. He hasn't had that one click yet. He hasn't broken 20 seconds yet. His PB this year is his PB is 20.24. And again, that's a tough field. Lyles, Bednarik, Laird, Ariane Knighton, the list goes on and on. It's going to be a tough team to make, tougher than we anticipated heading into the season. So this is a very interesting decision for Fred Curley. I went back and looked, Gordon. According to what I saw, college, and pro, never run rounds in the 100, like over a multiple day meet, or in the 200. So this will be completely new. Yeah, he's done it a million times in the 400, but he's never gone through rounds at a championship type meet in the 100 or the 200. 2019, when he got bronze, he only ran the 400, didn't run a single 100 or 200. So this is very surprising to me. Yeah, you look at it right now. It's weird to see the top guy on the list, 43.64, and then a scratch next to their name.
Yeah, I did not see this coming. Maybe he just, when he ran his 400 overseas, he just didn't like the way he felt. And he's like, I don't think I can handle this over 3 rounds. And he knows something about his body that we don't. But like it's just so, for a guy to first time enter 100 on like the world class stage and expect to be able to make the U.S. 100-meter Olympic team or the 200-meter Olympic team for that matter in the first try, that just has to be, you have to have a lot of confidence for that. Like he has to be like, I know what I'm doing. I think he knows something that we don't know. He knows something about him being able to perform. Maybe he knows that he's ready to run 19.8 and no one knows it yet. He just hasn't had the opportunity and he's just waiting for the trials to show that. And I wouldn't be surprised. If he goes out there and runs 19.8, you'd be like, that makes sense. Because you look at Michael Norman. Michael Norman can do that. And Michael Norman's running kind of fast hundreds as well. So it makes sense. We just maybe haven't seen it. And maybe he knows something. He maybe did some workouts that have been able to prove that he's ready to do what he thinks he can do. Yeah, I mean, it's just wild.
So I'm looking at his yearly marks here, and he's run three 400s. One was indoors, two were outdoors. The 44.6 where he got third and got beat by Norman, and then the 44.74. Like those were solid performances. Those were perfectly normal, in line with where we thought he'd be at the season that would set him up for a nice run at the trials. 200 seems like the better path, but it's just so strange to go into the trials never having run sub 20 and never actually having put it together. You're right. Maybe he's run a time trial on his own and run 19.8, which I would totally believe because he's a 991, 43.64 guy. Like it would make sense that he could run that time. But just the fact that it hasn't happened yet in a race would make me a bit nervous. I admire his confidence going for it, but I thought he was almost a sure thing in the 400 because I just thought, the 400 is going to come around. You run in those hundreds as fast as you are, you're going to be ready when the time comes. Very least, you'll get top three, and then you'll get in better shape for Tokyo and have a chance at a good medal.
I mean, we'll get into, maybe we'll save this for the Wednesday pod, but we'll just do a little primer. Are you picking Fred Curley to make either the 100 or 200 meter team?
I'm saying I gotta look at my notes, Gordon. I gotta dive in. It's gonna be tough. The 100, again, you'd think the 100 would be the better chance, but like who at this point in the 100, and same thing with the 200, who are you leaving off? Are you leaving off Terrence Laird in the 200? Are you leaving off Bednarik? Are you leaving off Lyles? In the 100, we know we're not leaving off Bromell. So then you got this list, right? Pull up that 100 list again. Yeah, thank you. So that if you're saying Bromell is a lock, then you have Bracey, Young, Curley, Baker, Martin, King, Gatlin. Go down a little bit more. I want to see if there's anybody else there. Oh, Lyles, right? And you have to factor in Lyles. So there's 8 guys for 2 spots there. I mean, you could cut out some of those people, maybe 6 guys for 2 spots. But it's like you're not going to count out Gatlin. You should not count out Lyles. You know what he's capable of. Young and Bracey just ran 9.8. Okay, Baker, we've seen what he can do. So there's at least 5 guys plus Curley who we think are going for 2 spots. It's a numbers game at this point, and it's just so crowded now.
I mean, I could see it being Bromell, Bracey, Curley. That's a possible. I wouldn't be shocking.
Of course, it wouldn't be shocking. Yeah, it's not a question of whether it's shocking. It's just you could come up with 10 of those, though. I could say True. Wouldn't be that surprising if it was Bromell, Baker, Gatlin, or Bromell, Lyles, Gatlin. None of that is surprising. Again, his best result, I think, is not the 991. It's the 996 in Ostrava when he beat Gatlin and DeGrasse. That probably told him, okay, I'm world class in this event, right? Like it's confirmed. It's not just a one-time thing. I've actually beaten these guys. But what I said before, the problem is not beating Gatlin, because you could beat Gatlin and still not make the team. So I don't know. It's fun. It's fun. It's a great discussion point coming into the meet. I mean, imagine if Coleman was here, how crowded this event would be.
Yeah, right? Maybe Fred Curley doesn't do this if Coleman's here. I think that would be true. I don't think Fred Curley.
But see, here's he could have done the 4 and the 2, right? The 4 and the 1 overlap, so that's difficult to do. But he could have done.
I think he thinks his best
400 and the 200.
I think he thinks his best 100 between the 1 and the 2 is the 100. We want to say it's a 200 because we think a 400 meter guy coming down would be the longer distance.
Yeah.
But I think to him, I'm going to make the 100 meter team. 200's my backup. That's the way I think he's looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't blame him based on his results, but that's a crazy position to be in for a 400 meter guy. Like, I'm going to skip the 200 and then just be on the team in the 100. Okay. I'm excited for it. Yeah. It's going to give us something to watch right off the bat. All right, we only got 2 minutes left here. I want to talk about a big change in collegiate coaching. The day after the USC women won the outdoor team title, their head coach, Carol Smith-Gilbert, announced that she's going to Georgia, Gordon, to replace Petros Kipriano. There have been rumors about this for months and months, but just the timing, like literally the next day, like there was still pictures on our site of USC celebrating, like in the top banner spot with Carol Smith-Gilbert there, and she was already being introduced as Georgia's head coach. Obviously, this is a move to the SEC, which a lot of coaches prioritize, especially if your emphasis is on the sprints and hurdles. Be interesting to see where she takes it because the program had obviously succeeded in sprints and hurdles, but really carved out a niche with Petros in the field events and multis. What do you think of the decision?
Yeah, well, it's also like it's weird because you think USC winning championships, you live in Southern California. It's like a perfect spot where like you got, you just having fun running track and the Olympics are coming to LA in 2028.
Yeah.
You can be there for all of that and you're just winning national titles, you're getting great athletes. You're living in California, but do you want to go to Athens, Georgia? And I guess maybe it's paid better, and maybe the cost of living in Georgia versus Southern California is night and day. So it's even a double pay jump because you don't have to pay as much to live in Athens. Seems like it's a business decision. It's kind of interesting. Whenever we see coaches leave places, we think, why would you want to leave that? Why would Chris Miltenberg want to leave Stanford? Like, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But then I guess there's always more to it with the salaries and standard of the living and the way the administration works with that specific program,
Yeah.
and she made a move for her. And I think she's probably excited about being in the SEC. There's more. I mean, there's no Pac-12 indoor championships, right? There's probably better pay for doing well at SECs, stuff like that. So I think it's a business decision. And I'm excited to see what happens to Georgia. Obviously they're going to start getting better sprinters. And then what happens to the current crew? Where would all the best field event athletes now go? Because before they were going all to Georgia. So where are they going to go now? Where will they transfer to? Will Petros take another college job? Will he do his own thing separate? Who's going to take the USC job? The USC job is probably... I mean, will Quincy Watts take it, or will Quincy Watts go to Georgia with Carroll? And what will Carroll and what's Matt Bowling going to do? That's what I want to know. What Matt Bowling? He's only a
man. You got questions.
Yeah, I mean,
like six questions.
Like, is Bowling going to want to transfer, or is Bowling going to be like content with like this new coaching system? Is he going to want to follow wherever his current sprint coach goes? It's just a lot of interesting things, and
yeah,
I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, track is interesting because you have the staff that has these different event specialists. So just because someone's a head coach doesn't mean you're their coach. So if they stay versus if they go, you could have people going in a bunch of different directions based on where different event coaches go, or they could decide to stay. Yeah, I think you nailed all the big questions for sure with this one. I think that USC recruited great. They got all these superstars from all across the country. Georgia, you saw the recruiting classes the last couple of years, especially in the field events. They were just stacking up national record holders and all the top performers from high school. Does that get scrambled? But neither program had an issue recruiting. But obviously, there's still some big names on Georgia's roster. We wonder what happens to them, and also with USC. Keep an eye on.
Yeah. Excited to see how it plays out. So it's kind of wild though. Like literally the next day, clearly this was in the works. You don't like, send in your resume after. I mean, it's kind of wild. Yeah. They had the graphic ready to go. It's a good look for Georgia too, right? They're like, hey, we just got the national championship coach.
Sure, yeah.
So
better timing. You could not have better timing for them, right? We just got and from a Power 5 program. It's not like you got the national championship coach from a school that had never won it before, or some coach on the rise. It's like, no, you got literally the coach that just won it all. All right, we'll leave it there for today. We got to get started prepping for our you're calling it a mega Olympic trials preview on Wednesday, which is going to be long. So buckle up for that. Thanks to Colt. Thanks to
Every
Travis.
Event.
Every single one. See you guys on Wednesday.
Previewing it all.